So as the title say, I think idols shouldn't be allowed to date. And this is not a wordplay. I really think so. And here's my explanation. Idol is a job, right? There's different kinds of careers out there. Some people are police, some people are nurse, some people are teachers, some people are in the military. There's different jobs, and usually different jobs come with different responsibility and different sacrifices. People who work during night shift, you have to sacrifice your sleep, at least sleeping at the regular time. People who work as a nurse, people who work overtime, they sacrifice time that they spend with their families, right? People who work in the military, what do? They sacrifice their life to protect the country because that is part of the job's responsibility, right? And I personally feel like not dating is part of responsibility that you have to take as an idol. So idol is a very competitive job. A lot of people want to be idoled, and when the job is more wanted and competitive, usually the sacrifice it takes is bigger. It also gives you a bigger return, but I think this sacrifice is sort of inevitable when you become an idol. Again, we're not talking about singers here. We're talking about idols. The word idol comes from idolizing. And the way people view singer and the way people view idol and the way they're consumed as a product is different. Again, before I go into this whole talk, I don't necessarily think, oh, they're not human, blah, blah, blah. They shouldn't have any rights. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm going to talk about where the responsibility is and why you should be responsible for your action and when is it okay, what makes it not okay. That's what I want to talk about. I feel like just because idol is human too, that doesn't mean you're also an exception from responsibility that comes alongside with your job as well. You know, when it comes to K-pop, the key word that is a lot of times discussed is parasocial. Oh, the fans are parasocial, blah, blah, blah. I feel like you can't blame K-pop fans for being parasocial with the idol. Whenever this idol dating stuff comes up, there are some people who goes like, oh, you guys are just delusional, live a life. I actually think this is a very bad explanation because literally idol companies sell people the delusion. Like the whole industry is built around there. Like what I'm saying is you can't blame the fans for feeling that way when you already set up the business in that format. And when you go to those fan meetings, you know, they pay a lot of monies and they get to talk for a little bit and ask them to do aegyo. Like, do singers do that? Well, I mean, some singers do, but like what I'm saying is they already monetize from this aspect. And now when they're dating, you can't be like, oh, but this is privacy. Like, do you see what I'm saying? What I'm saying is, it's a little bit of a hypocritical action for you to be able to utilize the parts that you like, but also, oh, like I have freedom to date as well. And here's the thing. Is it difficult for people like me to stay single? No, it's so easy. Like if someone said, I'll give you $1 million if you stay single, I'll be like, where's my $1 million? Right now, please. But imagine if you look like Stray Kids. Imagine if you look at BTS. Do you think girls would leave them alone? No girls are gonna leave them alone. Literally, you're gonna go outside, you're gonna just grab a candy from a grocery store, and they're gonna be like, can I get your number? You know, literally, you will try to walk into a restaurant and they'll be like, oh, can I get your number? People are constantly gonna be hitting on them. And also, the environment that idols work in, you're surrounded by attractive people, right? And also, what age are they? They're young. They're in their late teens, early 20s, most of them. That's when your hormones are going crazy. You're surrounded by the most attractive people and you're one of the most attractive people in the country and you're at your peak hormonal stage and you're telling them not to date? Impossible. Do you guys agree? Impossible. They're not like me who's stuck home 24/7 playing Genshin Impact, you know? Like they're different. They're different. So me thinking, oh, like it's easy, like just stay single is not the same responsibility as they take. Now you might be like, oh, Hyosang, like, aren't you kind of speaking against what you just said earlier? So I'm saying I understand how difficult it is. It's not easy like the rest of us for them to stay single. But that doesn't mean, like, I know it makes it difficult, but still, I think you shouldn't be allowed because here's my feeling. When you develop those love and passion, I'm not saying you should get rid of your feelings. You could feel attracted. You know, all of those feelings, you can't stop a person's feeling. But then I also feel like dating is an action. Like when you carry it out to an action, I feel like actions come with consequences and you could choose your action. What I'm saying is you can't stop a person from liking someone else. Stop liking them. That's not possible. But whether to choose to date or not, whether to marry or not, that's more of a conscious decision. Does that make sense? And because it's so hard to do, I feel like it is part of being professionalism. And I understand that it's harsh that you expect level of professionalism on such young people who are barely 20, barely 23. Now, hear me out. This is the core reason why I think they shouldn't be allowed to date. When idols date, who is happy by that? Idols themselves, right? They feel joy from their own dating experience. But then, who's responsible, and when they get caught, who is affected by that action? It's not just the idol. If you take your own action and if you're responsible for it, it's fine. But the issue is when idols get caught with their dating, not only does it affect themselves, it affects the group. It affects the fans who like the group. It affects the company who is working for the group. When there's one group, such as, let's say, Cortez, right? If there's one group like Cortez, there's literally 100, 200 people whose life, their salary and their life, their rent depends on Cortez members. So if you date, you have to know, you're basically throwing all of those people's life on risk. Some people literally have families to feed. And I understand, from an idol's perspective, you might not be able to see all of it. But you know how, if you guys ever keep up with the idol stuff, there's the hairstylist, there's the makeup artist, there's the manager, there's the, songwriter, lyricist, there is the CEO. All of those people, even the people who work for, security of the building, all of those people get paid from the idol. Now, can they ever be responsible for all of those people? I don't think so. What I'm saying is this. If they say I'll date and I'll take the responsibility, I'm saying you actually can't take the responsibility. Not just feeling wise, but also monetarily. I don't think the idol themselves could monetarily make up for the effect that it has on the other people. Because, you guys are aware, whenever small idols that you haven't heard of make a comeback, they spend decently 500,000 to $1 million on one album. So when we're talking about more famous group, into one album, there's 10 million, 20 million, and that's not a joke. Sometimes one music video is $1 million or even more. I've heard it's $2 million for new Blackpink music video or something like that. So if they say, I'll take the responsibility, are you able to pay 500, 5 million to all of these people? What I'm saying is that is not possible. And now I know that, but it's still personal life, yo. But I also feel like other jobs also lack personal life. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying we should all be suffering. That's not what I'm saying. But such as when people in military get deployed to different country, you're forced to be separated from your home. When people who even work at regular company, like my dad, when he had to make money, he had to live separate from our family. So we lived in America while my dad lived in Korea. There's a lot of jobs where you're not able to spend time with your family and your lover. And these are people who's already even married. That is inhumane. That's true. But here's the thing is that not every job out there is humane. In fact, if you go to more or less developed countries, the things that we think is obvious in terms of work and life balance aren't obviously taken. And I feel like the sacrifice the idols have to make from not dating is not a big sacrifice compared to other jobs where they have to give up sleep, where they have to give up more of their time, more of their family time. Also, here's the thing, guys. I don't want to say because they get paid enough, they should be okay with this. That is never the justification. It's not like the money pays for it, okay? But at the same time, I actually think it's more about how many people wants to do it. When there's such a high demand, supply, so many people want to be idol and so many people like the idol. Money, it's not the money makes it okay. Money's the proof that this is an extremely competitive job. For example, I'm saying, guys, this is wrong, but at the same time, this is true for a lot of jobs. You guys ever hear the story about models and how they starve themselves so that they look good for the show, and how harsh it is when they gain a little bit of weight and they can't go on the show? Actually, this also applies to idol as well. So do idols. Obviously, what we have to blame is the system. Do you see what I'm saying? It's the system, but within the system, and when there is already responsibility, and also here's the thing, guys, hear me out. The system's wrong, but when you decide to sign up for it, then you should be expecting it. As in, if you feel like, oh, the industry's wrong, this is not for me, I feel like you shouldn't sign up for it. I feel like when you say, I want to be an idol, I personally feel like you're willing to take the hard practice, the hard overworking. I'm not saying it should be condoned, but I also feel like you can't act like, oh, I never thought this wouldn't happen. For example, like if you wanted to sing and dance while also be able to date, then you could have just became a dancer. You could have just became a singer without joining an idol group. The emphasis is also on the group itself, because if you just do solo, then you're a little bit more responsible for your own action. But then when you sign up to be like in the group, that means you're in it together. Like I know they're young, but I think if you're young, you should still be aware that group takes responsibility together. And this is not just with dating issue, but with any other controversy. And why the responsibilities are higher is because other members are also affected by it. Bro, they're just kids. Yes, they are. But even at a young age, I think it's like empathy towards other members. Okay. So what about older groups that are 20, mid-20s and up? I started the whole talk extremely sensitively, but I think there's a time where they're able to date and what makes it okay for them to date. And by the way, I'll give a detailed explanation. I'm not just saying like they should never date. That's not what I'm saying. I also think it ties in with how much dedication have you given to the fans and the group. Like for example, you guys know how when it comes to idols, there's different scandals, but fans react differently. For example, certain idols date and the fans are like, oh, I'm happy for you, like blah, blah, blah. And then some scandals happen and the fans are like so mad, we're gonna send trucks to the company. The reason, like on the outside, non-K-pop fans just kind of look at it like, people are just crazy, just let those guys date. But when you actually are in the field, it's not just about dating or not dating. It's about their actions before the dating. It's about how they got caught. It's also about how they reacted after they got caught. It's also about like how many years have they been already in the idol field. Like, you know, like there's so many different factors. Fans don't just go crazy. There are obviously some fans just go crazy, but like people aren't as unreasonable as you think they are. So I'll address that little bit of detail. Now, I think you shouldn't date. But if you do date, I think you should try your best to not get caught. Do you guys agree? Okay, wait. So before I even talk about this, let me rewind just a little bit. You know, some companies have a contract that you sign with the company when you first join the group saying, I will not date, like until here to here. Guys, I feel like once you sign that, you should follow it. Like not even with the fans. Here's the thing. The reason why companies make those contracts is because the reason why it's in the job description is because company is planning to sell these idol as a parasocial delusional product, okay? Because they're aware, they're saying you're gonna be this, therefore you shouldn't be allowed to date. And if you feel like, but I wanna date, then you shouldn't sign that. Like, and if you say like, I sign it, but then I'm gonna date, you are lying to the company. Like before with the fan, you basically lied to your job resume. Does that make sense? And here's the thing, there are companies that allows the members to date. I don't want to mention a specific group because I just don't want to get in trouble. For the groups that allow the member to date and them dating, I think it's totally fine because the fans also know, oh, this company also allows dating. Okay, I'll mention a few. Like for example, you guys know, this isn't a K-pop group, but you know, Gnarly. I forgot the group name. Cat's Eye. So even though Cat's Eye isn't K-pop group, they have a format of a K-pop group. Cat's Eye never said, we're not gonna date. So I think they all have a boyfriend except for like the youngest one. And how do people feel about it? Like, yeah, sure, like go ahead. Because why? Because that's the promise that they, made from the start. They never said we're gonna, not date or anything. Neither did it say on the company contract. And I also heard, correct me if I'm wrong, I also heard ATEEZ never had a contract that says they can't date. Which is why, from what I know, one of the members had a longtime girlfriend. And fans were aware of it. Like, I'm saying, when it's agreed and known, then that's not an issue, Like, the fans are like, yeah, we know. Like, it's fine. But now, going back to the contracts and getting caught. So let's say you already signed a contract that said no dating, okay? And then, let's say you still wanted to date. So you decided to date. You're already cheating here. You're already lying to the contract. But let's say you did. Because you know why? Because they're young. Because they're young and they're in love. Like, being young and being in love makes people extremely unreasonable. It's hard to stop. Like, how many mistakes have we made as a kid? Like, I did so much dumber things when I was a teenager. It's fine. Okay, let's say they do. Now, this is the part that I genuinely don't understand. I think you should try your best to not get caught. Do you guys agree? If you date, shouldn't you try your best to not get caught? Because you already made the promise with the company as well as the fans. Now, there are stalkers. There's dispatch where they stalk the idols and they literally, secretly film inside their house and all of that. Crazy stalkers. So it's hard. It's hard to not get caught. Now, this is where I talked about earlier, as in fans are aware and fans take things differently. As in, you know how there's a difference between stalkers and dispatch going crazy and digging up their pictures versus them keep posting hints on their Instagram that indicates a lover. Why would you post something or show actions that would like secretly give hints? I just don't get it. It's in Korea we call it lobstagram. Hear me out. It's almost like as if you want to be caught. It's almost as if you're mocking the fans, saying like, this is our secret code, but no one knows about this, right? Ha ha ha. Okay, I know sometimes it's not meant to be and then fans are crazy and they dig it up. But you guys know how there's sometimes where the idols literally do it extremely explicitly on purpose. Like, you know what I'm saying? Sharing their happiness, maybe? Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, in first place, you signed a contract that says no dating. And then not only did you break that contract, and now, like, you should be trying your best to hide that thing. Like, okay, why'd you date? Because you like each other so much that you decided to even risk it, right? Why go a step further and then, like, try to leave more evidences? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Why aren't you trying harder to hide? Now, you know what makes me think? What about the members? What about the members? Like, for your drill of, hinting on the Instagram and blah, blah, blah. And also, I'll be honest. By the way, I'm not trying to call out any specific idols. There's so many cases of this. You guys know historically, over the 10, 30 years of history of K-pop, like, I'm not even trying to be specific. You know how sometimes, like, they would upload onto the fan channels, like Weverse or Fan Meeting, with the item that their girlfriend gifted them? I feel like isn't that too much? What do you guys say? That's too much. I feel like that's a little bit on the offensive level. You could have decided to wear other t-shirts. Like, why specifically that one? And then imagine, like, later fans find out. Wouldn't you feel like betrayed? Like, they were kind of laughing in front of your face with the shirt that, like, knowing that, oh, you guys probably don't know that I got this from my boyfriend. I got this from my girlfriend. Like, I feel like it's like teasing the fans. Like, you didn't have to. You don't have to do that, Now, not just about this part, the other actions outside of dating. You guys know how idols, they have different forms of communication, such as in the fan meeting, such as how many content they post, how many times they come to Weverse and talk to their fans. Like, there's different aspects that they could show love to their fans. You know what I feel like? I feel like when it comes to idol dating, it's not just about idol dating. It's also about how good of an idol have they been with their fans, how communicative, how much have they expressed their gratefulness and their, love to the fans. You know how there's certain idols that are really communicative with the fans? And I feel like in that case, like, fans are less upset. But imagine you pay for this service called Bubble. Like, you pay for this communication service and then they never say anything there. Like, they never text you a single time and you're paying for it. And then they get caught with the idol dating and apparently, like, they've been hinting everywhere on Instagram. Like, I feel like, not just feeling wise, but like, you're kind of not being responsible of the product that you're selling. Like, meanwhile, if it contrasts with the other members that has been very active on the Bubble, you see? And imagine if you're not even this member's fan, you are a fan of the other member, and imagine the member that you didn't even like that much cause a trouble. Like, wouldn't you feel mad because that member's action is affecting your bias's career? Like, your bias is trying so hard. Like, your bias probably also wants to date and, you know, they're also handsome and they're pretty. But then if like the other one keeps getting in trouble, you feel like, why are they in the same group? Like, you know, like, why is this one always being responsible for this person's action? Why would you feel betrayed for someone that does not belong to you? Now, here's the thing. It's not that K-pop fans, well, most K-pop fans, it's not like you actually think you're going to be able to date them. Okay? But it's also the idea of open possibility. And also because, again, companies sell that. They sell it in the songs. They sell it in the fan meeting. They like sell it, you know? You're reaching, dog. But I feel like this is also what's difference between idol selling versus singer selling. And here's my personal opinion. Like, if you're a job that's making living and career out of other people's love, shouldn't you be careful about your own love as well? And okay, additionally, adding a little more points, here's the reason why I think dating is a little bit irresponsible. Because you know how in order for idol groups to make a good comeback, they have to spend hours of time practicing and learn the choreography, singing, other things. I feel like if fans find out that this member was dating, then it would feel like this person has give less dedication to their main job. Being idol should be a normal job, and they should have a life. I actually think idol is not a normal job. It's not. By the way, okay, going a little bit further, I also don't think it's strictly a no. As in, there are times where after you do the group works enough and as you get older and older, fans also slowly think and they let go. Do you know what I'm saying? And even if they know, they kind of intentionally not talk about it because they want to respect their personal life as well. I feel like if you've been following through, there's a timeline where around like as they get older in like late 20s, you know, like, oh, like, yeah, you know, because you also want the idols to be happy, so you don't want them to be lonely forever. But even so, here's my opinion. I don't know how you guys think about this. It's also this. You know how when you date, you don't know how long you're gonna last with this person. I feel like responsible idol behavior would be this. You focus on your group and company in the time of debut, and then you go through later of your career. And then when you become a little bit more freer in your time and group activity, then I feel like you could date, but like you shouldn't try to announce that to your fans, okay? You shouldn't try to announce. You shouldn't try to make it so obvious and do like Lovestagram. And then I feel like once you decide, okay, I think I found a person, then instead of, you know, coming back with the dating scandal rumors, I feel like you should tell your fans first, hey guys, I think I found a person that I really love in my life and I want to get married to this person. And because, you know, fans are the first, you know, people that always care about me, I want to tell you guys before you hear it through other dispatch or news like that. Like, you know, the way you deliver your feelings to the fans, I feel like also matter. Then that way, fans are like, oh, like I wish for your happiness. But it's also about like who tells them. As in, you know how it's a different feeling where the idol themselves tells them versus like you see on the news, like, you know, it's a scandal caught, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. They shouldn't have to announce it though. I feel like you should. If idols marry, shouldn't you announce that? It's one of the biggest events in your life. They will still get backlash. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying as in, when you decide to marry that person, that means you are going to take all of those responsibility, which is why you decided to marry to that person. Like, what if I feel like if you weren't wanting that backlash from the fans, like you shouldn't have married that person in the first place. And in fact, I don't think there's a backlash when it comes to marriage. What do you guys think? I never really seen idol marriage getting big backlash unless there are some specific cases, but yeah. Why should they just hide it until they're ready to marry? It just hurts fans' feeling. Fans are in the position where they like the idol, okay? And even if, let's say, idol doesn't have any responsibility, wouldn't it feel bitter seeing the person you have crush on going all like flirty and like all happy with their lover? Who give a F? I feel like if you care about the fans, then you would also feel bad and you wouldn't do that. How is this an actual convo? Am I delusional? Okay, also adding a little bit far, I also think timing matters a lot in this issue. For example, let's say you're making your first debut album comeback. Let's say you're making a big new comeback and then you get caught with dating scandal. You know, like the timing affects the comeback, affects the other members, it affects the whole promotion. I feel like there are times where you should actually focus on the main job. Hear me out. Not even idols. People who have regular jobs and careers sometimes get busy and they go like, oh, I like you, but I actually don't have the time to date right now because my career is taking up too much time and I don't think I could be responsible for both my job as well as dating with you. So I think, it's not the right time for me. Like, some people make that choice. But then, like, what I'm saying is, I feel like it's not that different with the idols, where when they have a big comeback, then I think they should also, unless it's clear that the quality of the work is dropping, I think idols should be allowed to date. Yeah, I think the quality of the work also does matter. Okay, I think I came off a little bit wrongly. I am not trying to defend stalkers, sasengs. I am not trying to defend people who go like snake emoji when they get caught dating to the other person, like throw up emoji. I'm not. I'm not. It sounds like you are. No, I'm not. You're in that territory. No, I'm not. I am not defending. Hear me out. Me saying idols shouldn't date is not me defending people who are hating on the idols. Do you guys see, like, there's a big difference? Like, idol taking responsibility of their action versus whether it justified the fan is totally different. Like, they are also wrong, but I'm saying I don't see the difference. No, it's two different things. If they're both mature in their own spot, then it's all good. But I feel like idols breaking contract and lying about the dating, this is also unprofessionalism. And the people leaving hate comment and throw up emoji, this is also immature behavior. Like, do you see what I'm saying? It's both immature. I'm not defending either. Like, they're both wrong. So ideally, it should be like this. Idols are responsible and doesn't date, or at least doesn't get caught, and communicate with their fans well. And the fans either like that or respect it. And then let's say they get caught. Mature fans try to not overreact like crazy and understand their, personal love life and things like that. What I'm saying is, here's the thing, is fans' maturity to understand whether the idol should be allowed to date, or like if it's okay, or if it's blah, blah, blah. Like, what I'm saying is, you taking that as a fan is your maturity, and their action and job professionalism is different. What you're saying is because so many fans aren't mature, it's a business risk to keep it a secret. Yo, what about friends with benefit? Yo, I'm sorry, this is like a different from the topic. I just straight up think friends with benefit is wrong. But sorry, maybe I'm too conservative. By the way, guys, maybe I'm a Korean male. Maybe that's why I have extremely conservative thoughts like this. I grew up in Korea, and I apologize if... And I also feel like there is a culture difference when I talk about all of this thing. Because, in Asia, responsibility as a group is emphasized way more than individual person's will and individual person's freedom. Even in American work culture, the difference is in America, people are like, oh, I don't care if the company's failing. I already wrote that this day is going to be my holiday, so I'm going to go to a holiday because that's not part of my job. Meanwhile, in Korea, if you do something like that, they won't allow because group responsibility is so much stronger in Asia. Again, guys, I'm talking about K-pop groups. I feel like it works differently if you're K-pop solo. I still think solo has responsibility if you're idol because the people who work under the company is responsible from your action. But I'm saying it even stronger for group. Because here's the thing, guys. Again, fans going crazy and hating is wrong. But at the same time, when these idols do get caught with dating, what happens? The album sale drops and the songs perform less. And they end up not winning the awards that deserve from their action. I feel like if I'm part of a group and my hard work and effort is not reciprocated because one of the members decide to break the contract, I feel like I would not be happy with this member. It's kind of like a group project where one person not contributing enough is affecting the quality and the grades of your grade. Everyone gets the same grade in the group. You're tweaking? Am I too non-individualistic thinking? Group project mentioned. Plugging your song mid-argument. Why do 4 million fans think they have chance with one idol? They don't. Normal people don't think that. It's about the feeling that there might be. Like, it's just like an open chance that makes it more fun. Like when you like a 2D anime character, Is it because you really think you're going to be able to marry that person in real life? No, it's just a delusion. Like, you like that character, you're delusional. I feel like it's the same way with idols. It's delusion. You can't, but you like that feeling. Yo, please tell me this is rage bait. I'm not. But then, even in the anime world, when the character does something wrong, then people feel hurt that their delusion is being hurt. I'm gonna go off. So you're telling me you're okay when you have a favorite idol and then you realize, or they make an announcement that they have a boyfriend. Am I the only loser that's gonna start like imagining? So that means like they like did all of this? Like they kissed, and so you're telling me they did all of this? Yo, I'm salty. I just don't want to imagine that. Like when they announce that they're dating, it makes you be able to imagine that they did all of this. It makes you jealous. You're weird, yo. It's like this. Even if you're aware, I feel like saying it out loud hits differently. This is not a logic issue. It's like a feeling issue. Like for example, let's say you have a crush and then you know you have no chance with the crush. But you know how it feels different when you realize that crush got a girlfriend or boyfriend, because then you're like, oh my gosh, then they for sure did everything. Then like you're sad, like you wish you didn't know about that fact. If you didn't know it, then you would have been happier. It wasn't meant to. Now your crush doesn't have any responsibility to you, because why? They didn't sell any Parasocial fan meeting fan calls. But the idols did. The companies literally did. They sold the Dilulu as a product. And not only that, did your crush sign a contract that says no dating? Did your crush sign up for Weber's thing that you pay like $5 per month? No, but like idols did. Idols did. That makes the responsibility different. Yeah. Let me emphasize a little bit stronger on the fan part though. Fans telling the idols to leave the group, go die, break up. This is all wrong. Please, don't justify any fan action from any of this talk. Like we have to make sure on this. Fan action is totally different area. The idol's action shouldn't justify the toxicness from the fans. Like death threats, stalking. No, nothing. What I do think fans could do is simple. Is simply decide to consume or not consume, as in decide to stream their song, decide to buy their album, decide to go to their concert or not. That's the decision that you can make as a fan. Do you see where I'm coming from? Your decision is to, oh, I'm gonna keep being their fan. Oh, I'm gonna, stop listening to their music. That's not like a toxic behavior. What I do think is toxic is when you go like, we're gonna boycott the group because they're dating. Like you decided to delete the song from your playlist. Go ahead. You got your feelings hurt? Go ahead. You going on like Twitter or whatever, boycott the group unless they kick the member out. Please go to hospital. Like, yeah, just like, that's too far. Yeah. Again, I'm not saying the dating justify this. It doesn't. It justifies not buying, which is why it drops in the album sale, and that's what affects the other members. That's the responsibility that they need to take. Not the responsibility of fans giving death threat. That's not a right responsibility they should have taken. The decreased album sale that affects the marketing manager's pay, do you see what I'm saying? That's the responsibility. And again, you know how so far we talked about dating? I also feel like your response after the dating is really important. As in, sometimes we talked about this whole thing as a dating thing, but it's also about lying. As a person to person, when you lie, it also breaks the trust. And after you said, blah, 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 and you lie about it, or you go like in the stance of, what's wrong? Why do you guys even care? I feel like this kind of attitude is wrong. Because if you go like, why do you even care? Then fans could also be like, okay, then we're not going to care either. Like what I'm saying is, your attitude afterwards, stop listening to their songs because of dating isn't valid. I think it's valid because from the first place, deciding to play the music or not was just simply your preference, if that makes sense. Like you as a fan doesn't have any responsibility. We decide to not listen to the song just because we get tired of the song, just because we don't like the song. So I feel like it doesn't need a special reason for you to not decide to listen to a song. Like for example, you know how there's iPhone versus Samsung? Some people decide to switch to iPhone just cause why? Kids at the school think it's cooler. Like what I'm saying is when people consume certain product, you don't necessarily need a logical reason behind it. So when you decide to not listen to a song, that's also your freedom. You don't need like a logical reason because this musically advanced music, I'm gonna listen to it. Like it's the other way around where I feel like if you like certain idol so much, then even if their song isn't good, then you play it on stream. You know, you stream it on repeat. I feel like whether you force listen because you like the person or whether you not listen because you don't like the person, go ahead. Again, like the boycotting stuff is, I hate that stuff. Like just do it on your free time or whether you listen or not listen, but like telling other people to like stop listening, that's different because that creates a bad vibe among other people's fandom. Like you're causing like a negativity within the fandom. But literally so many Western artists are dating people and working so hard. Yeah, and they also never made the promise that they weren't going to date. And they never signed that contract. Okay, this is a little bit of a different topic. I do think there's a big issue in the industry where this dating standards applies differently to guy idol versus girl idol. I actually feel like it's much harsher on the girl idols. Well, it depends on the case. But like for example, it'd be a guy idol dating with a girl idol, and I always see girl idol getting way much backlash, and then guy idols getting a little bit defended for it. This is just straight up wrong. I don't know why. This is just wrong. It's just wrong. And I also feel like fans getting more mad at girl is wrong, but also it's kind of sad how the entertainment industry is harsher on the girl idol in the sense where guy idol getting in a dating scandal doesn't ruin the reputation too much. But then girl idols getting involved in those, it ruins the brand image a lot. Which is what? We try to not admit it, or I mean, maybe we do. But like the whole industry is so... They're in this idea of, this is very sensitive for me to say, but when guy sleeps around versus when girl sleeps around, you know how any society, they view them differently, even though they're both someone who sleeps around a lot and it's their choice, yet we use more derogatory terms for a woman who sleeps with multiple men than guys who do. Sometimes even the guys even praised. I feel like that same irony is applied exactly same in the idol world as well. So this isn't even like a K-pop industry issue. This is just like us as a human. Even in your local high school, the popular guy versus what people call the S word, like you get the idea. And this is even same with the Western artist. Do you guys agree? Even with the actors in the Western world, the guy singer and the guy actor versus this, we don't really have any say in this. And also, I also feel like this whole dating thing when it comes to idol is affected by age. As in, I personally feel like, it sounds weird, but while fans are not always logical, they do tend to let go after 30. Do you guys agree? And I don't feel like 30 is too long to wait. Am I wrong? Is it because I'm also getting older? I'll be honest, if I was an idol, I could wait until I'm 30. The reason also why the 30 is kind of allowed is because long time ago, I'm sure you guys know about this, there was an idol group named G.O.D. and there was a guy named Junhyung, and he got caught with the dating scandal. And at the time, this was 20 years ago in Korea or something, the fans were even more extreme in Korea. They were obviously trying to kill him, kick him out of the group, all of that. And JYP was the, CEO at the time, was thinking about getting out of the group because that was the norm at the time. And then he did an interview, press conference. And there's a famous scene where he goes like, I'm 32, man, okay? I'm 32. Let me love the person I love. I'm 32, man. And that particular scene kind of made people think, because at the time, people used to get married back in like 23-year-old. So at the time, being single at 32 was like, why aren't you getting married already? So people saw that crying and saw that, oh, we're wrong. And guys, I literally made a whole talk about this today for almost an hour. I might change my words later. Please. I might change my words later where what I think is correct right now at 2026, when we look back at it 10 years ago, like 10 years later, 20 years later, or like, I swear, I don't stand by my words. Because why? Society's standard change a lot. People's thoughts on subject change a lot. And also, who knows? Once I find a lover and I realize what love is, then I might be like, actually guys, never mind. You know? So the whole reason why I made this video is because I'm salty that I'm single and that these these super super handsome beautiful idols are living their life. So I'm just a bitter old guy. Yes. So I apologize. Don't take me too seriously. I just like having these kind of conversation with you guys. I feel like if we get more famous and more people know about our stream and video, I'm definitely gonna get canceled for this. And again, wait, I just want to mention another thing. I wasn't targeting a specific person or group because as I'm giving example, names flash through my mind. Was it same for you guys? I literally love these idols and groups. Like they're one of my favorites. But then their names flashed through my mind and I was like, I wasn't trying to throw a shade on them. I really, really, because they're one of my favorite idols of all time. They're also my mom's favorite. So I am not throwing a shade on a specific person, you see. But alright, thanks so much for watching. Actually, wait, let me do this. I do this thing at the end of the video where I say, if you have seen the video until the end, please put turtle in your comments so that I know that you're getting mad after you finished watching the video. So if anyone's gonna leave a comment on the video, can they put turtle? No, like genuinely, doing this allows people to not leave a mad comment at the first 5 minutes of the video. So if you watched until here, then please type turtle. So what it does to me is that when someone says the turtle and they leave comment, then I know like, oh, this person is saying this after watching the entire video. But then if they don't leave that, then I know then they're, I know they're not watching the entire video and they're already speaking. I'm deleting all your songs from my playlist. Why? What did I do? I didn't even date. But alright, cuties. Thanks so much for watching.